Good morning, crypto Twitter, it's Misty Crypto, spreading crypto adoption, showing its benefits to my generation. Shout out to all my people, Gen Z needs to be included, it's really that simple. We are savage, amazed, boss, SD, making money at the same time, spread peace. I feel empty if you don't include Gen Z, about to change the world, so y'all better get ready. Misty Crypto, I'm never backing down, I got a wax account, you should check it out. So many NFTs, I think I lost count, and I'm only getting started, yeah, I'm barely off the ground. Misty Crypto, you cannot stop me, my hands are made from diamond, your hands fall like origami. Never be the boss of me, Bitcoin's all I need, when I say I'm zesty, that's just me, talking honestly. Crypto and yum bomb, marketplace, I wanna see the more, we gotta go through cyberspace, leave this world without a trace, say pay for a different day, cause we partners in the cryptos didn't stay.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Miss Teen Crypto Show. I hope you guys are having a lovely Thursday today. Wow, the zest is definitely in the air. There's mad friends in the chat. Hello, friends in the chat. If you guys are new to the show, hi, my name's Miss Teen Crypto. It's nice to meet you, my friends. Please, if you're enjoying the vibe already, please drop a like, subscribe, and share this stream out with friends because the zest is all here. And we're going to do a few giveaways as well. But before we jump into the show, I want to thank two awesome sponsors. We're going to thank Wax Blockchain. Absolutely awesome. Killing the game as usual. I believe they had their Wax Wednesday spaces last night, so check them out, wax.io. Next, we have Ballet. Ballet, super easy and cool wallets. We're going to give one away during the show, so stay tuned for our zesty guess, keyword, or phrase for you guys to enter in the chat. I'll let you know if you win by typing in the chat or shouting you out on the show. If you win, please send me a DM on Twitter with your email address and I'll get you going with the Ballet team. I see we have 6 likes right now. Let's get that to 16 and I'll drop another NFT. I'm going to drop one in right now to start us off. Thank you guys for coming and let's jump into today's zesty guest, Alon Goren. How are you doing, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked to be here.
I'm happy to have you, my friend. I mean, listen, I'm a fan of what you do in this space. You're well connected within the space, an absolute OG. But I want to learn more about you. I want to learn how Alon Goren became to be Alon Goren, a cool venture capitalist bro in the crypto space. Let's start off. I want to say, high school, college. What was, a teenage Alon up to?
I was wearing this shirt for sure. This shirt's older than you. Listening to hardcore punk rock and skateboarding around and wanting to change the world. And so, I was super into the internet really, really early, and being a computer nerd growing up. So, I was essentially saying the same stuff that I'm saying today, just, confusing the hell out of even more people back then.
Yeah, I mean, what was it like at the beginning of the internet? Do you feel like there were similarities between the beginning of the internet and now with crypto?
Well, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say I was beginning of the internet. I'm not that old, but but social media.
Exactly.
Social media. So I worked at MySpace actually back in the day.
No.
And so, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, those were back then when people would say you're going to be able to earn a living on the internet. Everyone laughed at them. We're talking about when people still, a little before I was working at MySpace and a little, before PayPal existed and stuff like that, people were skeptical to buy things on the internet. They would go to the post office to get a cashier's check or a money order or whatever the hell it's called so that they could send money to someone for something they bought on eBay and things like that. And so people still didn't believe that you could have a YouTube channel and you could have sponsors, and that was unheard of back then. And that was the beginning days of celebrities on the internet, right? Weird professional wrestlers and random people would get followings because of the crazy stuff they would post on MySpace. It was
Exactly.
really exciting.
What was like one thing that really stuck out to you about social media? Like, did you really think that social media would become what it is today just because like you were in that MySpace? MySpace, I feel like, was the first, yeah, where people really started to express themselves kind of on a different level than they did in person. I feel like that's where online personas kind of came about.
Yeah, well, like there were, you know, if you grew up as like a misfit or a weirdo, right, and you hung out with like, and I bring up the punk rock thing because it's like it was my identity growing up, and I still it's like a big part of my identity, and you know, there were 15 of us at Thousand Oaks High School or went to school, right? But when you got a driver's license, you could drive to Ventura to a punk rock show, and all of a sudden you'd meet the
Ooh.
15 kids times 15 schools, and all of a sudden there was a group of people. But then the internet came, and all of a sudden you'd find the misfits and weirdos in every little pocket of the rest of the world, and you started making friends. Like I have
Yes.
friends that I met at the early days of social media that live in Florida that I've never met in person before, but they made artwork for albums that I put out, or they're people that I keep in touch with on the internet, but I never met in person. And that's
Wow.
normal for us. Like nowadays, it's normal to have random Twitter friends and people that you don't like meet in real life, but you talk to all the
Absolutely.
time. You're like, like I see our buddy Ken Bozak like once a year, twice a year at conferences. I fucking love him, right? Like, and then that's it. He's my friend, and I would
Yeah.
never think he's not my friend, right?
Exactly.
And I met you for the first time in real life in New York, a month or two ago, and it's like we're friends. But like that wasn't normal at all. If you told your parents, like, oh yeah, I was just talking to my buddy Mike in Florida, they'd be like, oh, how'd you meet him? Did he go to your high school and move to Florida? You're like, no, I met him on the internet. He makes artwork for punk bands. And you're like, what? Like we were in a punk band when we were teenagers, and we had fans in Malaysia. I don't know why, but like a third of our fans on MySpace were in Malaysia. It
That's
was
freaking
freaking awesome.
awesome.
All these skateboarding kids in Malaysia were like, you gotta come play a show in Malaysia. And we couldn't afford to do it, so we didn't do it. But like,
Oh my
it was just so
gosh.
cool, right? Like, you were meeting people all over the world. And that's kind of how it is. And so for me, like, the thing that really sparked it, that was cool. But I remember like having problems raising money for putting out an album, or having problems raising money for charities and things like
Yeah.
that online, because people didn't trust the internet. And I remember early days of working at MySpace going like, what if we could use this tech that we use for gaming and networking? Like Farmville sold more John Deere fake tractors on Farmville one year than John Deere sold real tractors in real life. That was like the big vanity metric thing. It was like one was $1 and one was $100,000 or whatever, how much one of those tractors cost. But like nobody was before that buying things on the internet. So we were like, what if a punk band could raise money on the internet that easily? Like, what if I wanted to put out an album and I just want to raise $1,000 on a MySpace page? That didn't
Yeah.
exist. And so that's what we started building actually back then. And that turned into the crowdfunding business that I was a part of, where I actually met Joseph, my partner, like about 7, 8 years after that. And then the crowdfunding industry, at least a lot of the people in that industry gravitated towards crypto, because it was like the better version of what we were trying to build for so many years.
And while you're like going through all this, like, seeing I guess the progression of social media, what did you think of like, people starting to make money off of just being an online creator? Because I know like MySpace popped off, and then there was Vine. I don't know if you were really into Vine, because that's kind of what brought me into
Yeah.
social media, was Vine. And I just remember seeing all of these online personalities. So it's just like, this is do you see that? I feel it's the
Yeah.
next generation of just kind of working, like it's a whole different workforce. And I feel like that kind of leads into
Totally.
blockchain a little bit.
100%. Well, I think the thing that's crazy, and like what I think makes it interesting, and why kind of COVID accelerated us in a way, like it jumped us ahead by like 5 years, is because we're sort of digital natives, right? We
Yes.
grew up on the internet.
Wow.
We live on the internet. We hang out with our friends on the internet, and so we now work on the internet too. And for me, at this day and age, to think like, what if I got a job again and worked as a teller at a bank like I did when I was like 20 years old? Like that would be the most miserable, insane thing in the world, for like to have to go into the same building every single day and sit in the same spot and talk to like and work like the way that I did. It would be crazy. And it's even crazy that it still exists. I guess like legacy systems have to keep going, but like it's crazy. It just doesn't make any sense. And for us being digital natives, it's weird and backwards. Like I very rarely use cash, and when somebody's like using cash, it's weird to me. I get confused by it. Like it just doesn't make sense.
No.
And when there's just so many better alternatives, right? So I don't know, like for me, it's this shift that's happening right now. And most people that in our space work digitally, right? And they work remotely and from wherever they are. And it's super fun.
Absolutely. Like there's a ton of projects or, organizations in crypto where everyone's pretty remote and from different countries, just collaborating and working together from all around the world. And that's possible with the internet. I mean, what would exactly like, what Randy said in the chat, what would we do without the internet? Because we're so interconnected now. I feel like social media really pushed that. Just people kind of breaking that geographical barrier that we kind of all have between countries. And now I feel like everyone's kind of has this more togetherness type feeling because of social media.
I think it's 1,000%, especially the younger you are or the longer you've been living in it. Like for me, like, okay, so think about the politics and stuff that I grew up in, or at least as a punk rocker, everyone's really extreme and opinionated and thinks that everything should change and is really critical, right, of the government.
Yeah.
And every single election that I can think of my whole life, there are friends of mine, probably myself included when I was younger, just everyone going like, if this person wins the election, fuck this, I'm leaving the country, I'm moving to Canada, I'm moving to Mexico, I'm leaving to this place, right? And that's how, every single time there's an election, doesn't matter what side you're on, people are saying that kind of thing. But crypto is the first time ever, especially like for Americans, because America is America and everybody's like, America is the best place and everybody's coming here. And most people who live and grew up here never left the country. Like people that friends of mine that I grew up with, unless you're in Southern California like me and either you have like Hispanic family or you like driving down to Tijuana because you're a surfer or something, right? But like people don't leave the country, at least most people that I grew up with. And so it was always an empty promise, I'm gonna leave the country. But in crypto, I talk to Americans every single day. People grew up, whether it's in Southern California or Texas or New Jersey, you talk to them, you hear their like accent from wherever you are, and you're like, and you ask them where they are right now, and they go, oh, I'm in Singapore, I'm in Thailand, I'm in South America. You're like, what the hell are you doing in El Salvador, right? Like you're an American. Isn't America the greatest place in the world? And they're like, no, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm scared shitless to launch my company in America. And so all of a sudden, those borders mean less and less. And especially if you're us, like it does, other than the fact that I want to send my kids to the school near where I grew up or whatever, like you have that emotional connection. I don't know if most of us even have that as much anymore.
Yeah. I mean, especially that's like a good thing you brought up as well, a good topic of just entrepreneurs and just innovation kind of being halted in this country a little bit. Do you feel as though like you were kind of doing the same? I know like Draper Goren Holm, you guys kind of like have a whole portfolio of just, a lot of people that you guys work with, and a lot of it's international, right?
Yeah, we never did a deal because it's in a certain location, and we never didn't do a deal because it's in a certain location. Like there's great entrepreneurs no matter where you are in the world. And so the idea that like somebody has to be in Silicon Valley or happen to grow up there and go to Stanford, like makes them the greatest entrepreneur is just a ridiculous thing, especially in this new world where first of all, like there's no such thing as I learned about blockchain in school, right? Like there are some classes and some things, right? But like that's not where any of us learned it from. You learned it from doing it or from researching it and from just being sort of boots on the ground. So the idea that any geography makes you better at doing it than anywhere else is crazy. So, you know, for us, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, and we want to support everyone. And so we have companies that are based in Southern California, where I am, and we have companies based in Israel, in Kansas, in Michigan, you know, I had a call today where there were 4 people on the call, and they were all in 4 different countries working for the same company. You know, and I love that. That's kind of that's the dream and the promise of crypto, right? Like, it's kind of, you want getting back to that topic, as a punk rocker, I remember screaming "No borders, no nations" at punk rock shows, right? Like, that's what crypto is delivering to us.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
oh, sorry, go on.
No, it's I think, like, and what's funny is people try to make it a little bit political, right? Like, oh, if you're on the right, you're like this. If you're on the left, you're like this. If you're in the middle, you're like this. Or if you're liberal, or if you're libertarian, or if you're this. What's crazy is that Bitcoin doesn't care, right?
Exactly.
And I think that Bitcoin enables everyone to do the thing that they want to do, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Exactly. I always say this: Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, it's a nonpartisan issue. It's a bipartisan issue. This is not a one-party situation at all. I mean, I've had Twitter spaces with people from the right, from the left, or whatever you'd like to call it, one side and the other, and both sides agree that we need a money that we're in control of and have to separate, like, you know, money from state type of thing. It's an issue that we can all agree on. So yes, I'm with that 100%. 100%. And speaking of Draper Goren Holm, I want to kind of go into that. How did Draper Goren Holm start? Was that after you found crypto?
Yeah, so it was interesting. So, like I mentioned, that I built a company in the crowdfunding space, and I did that for a long time, kind of on the side. So after I was done working at MySpace, I worked for IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, which is actually it's owned by Amazon, actually.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So think about it. When Amazon switched from selling only books, the first thing they added was movies. And so they were going to be one of the largest advertisers on IMDb. They were going to add a button on IMDb that says "Buy this movie on Amazon." And that was a deal they were doing. And in the process of putting together that deal, they bought IMDb.
Wow, I did not know.
Because and IMDb is one of the oldest websites on the internet.
Yeah.
If you look it up, it was actually a Usenet news group before the World Wide Web existed. So it's been around for I don't know, at this point, 35 years or something. It's really crazy. Anyway, while I was there, I eventually quit working from Amazon to start my own company in the crowdfunding space. Tim Draper was one of the investors in that company. Yes. One of my first customers for that company was actually Adam Draper, his son, who launched Boost. So Adam, by the way, if you haven't had him yet, you got to get Adam on the show. He's awesome. You should totally have him on. He's way more cool than I am.
Oh, stop it.
But Adam started a thing called Boost Funder, which was a crowdfunding site to help startups raise money on the internet. And he decided, after running it for a little while, that he was going to shift focus and launch his own accelerator. And so he took the funder off of Boost Funder and he just called it Boost. And Boost became the first Bitcoin-only accelerator. So the first, not the first, but some of the first cohorts of companies that went through Boost were Bitcoin companies. And so I'd heard the word Bitcoin. I'd heard of Litecoin at around the 2013 time. We actually mined Litecoin in our office in 2013
no way.
to see if it would work for microtransactions and stuff in crowdfunding. And it was obviously way too early. But then I got to see companies at the Boost demo days from 2013, 14, 15, see Bitcoin companies, because nobody used the word blockchain yet. I would see Bitcoin companies launching at Boost, and I learned more and more, and kind of was still running my crowdfunding company though. So I wasn't fully deep all in on it. But as that company ran its course, I kept hanging out with Joseph at different crowdfunding conferences. Yes. We'd be at the crowdfunding conference in Orlando, Florida. And we'd be at the hotel after the event, having a beer together, and we would literally look at each other and be like, "Why are we here?" And we're like, "We could have a beer together in LA," because he lived in LA at the time. We don't have to fly to Florida once every 3 months to a conference to have a drink together. Like, we could be hanging out in LA. And we would look at the conferences, and I needed to be at the conference because I was selling platforms to the people building companies in the space. But once somebody hired us to build their platform, I would see them at the conference. I'd say, "Why are you here? Like, none of your customers are here and none of your investors are here. You have no startups here that are going to raise money on your website, and no investors." And we saw that theme over and over again in the crowdfunding space, where every event was the lawyers and the accountants and the service providers. It was like the same 100 people who became all best friends. We all loved each other. It's some of the people are the biggest names in crypto right now, by the way. Like the guys at Prime Trust were there hanging out with us at the time, right? Like Jor Law and Scott Purcell. And these people. Yeah, so Jor is a rock star, one of my favorite people. And so Joseph and I were like, let's just create our own crowdfunding conference, but not for us and for those people. Let's create it for the actual companies who wanted to raise money. So we had the first crowdfunding conference where the entrepreneurs who wanted to raise money and the investors who were interested in investing in them together. And we did it at the LA Convention Center. We called it Crowd Invest Summit. And our first event was the biggest crowdfunding conference that there ever was.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
That's not saying too much. There was like 1,500 people there.
Yeah, but that's still a milestone.
It was a really big deal for that industry. But what was interesting in that industry was that it was shifting. Like, we're using the internet to raise money, and this new thing called crypto was coming out. And by like 2016, we realized, this crypto thing is taking over. And Joseph and I had become practically full-time in the space just personally.
Yeah.
And so I had already finished that company that I was doing, ultimately failed. I joined one of the funds that invested in it as a venture partner, helping them introduce them to cool entrepreneurs and things like that, and switched the the Crowd Invest Summit. We rebranded to Crypto Invest Summit because ICOs became a thing, and we were all in, and we just decided let's do it. And
was that like 2017?
I think we officially rebranded in 2017, but it was funny. We did like one last event in sometime around 2017 where it was like supposed to be like co-branded Crypto Invest Summit, Crowd Invest Summit. And like halfway through the organization of it, we're like, who are we kidding? It's all crypto.
Basically.
And we removed the name completely. And since then, we rebranded it to just LA Blockchain Summit because we don't have any aspirations to do that event like at that kind of scale around the world like we did for a moment. We just decided let's just be LA Blockchain Summit. It's going to be the biggest blockchain conference on the West Coast every year, and we're just going to focus on that. But what was the crazy thing is that at a certain point we realized like running a conference kind of sucks. Not that like it does suck in many ways. Like, it's a really hard thing to do. So the people who are good at doing conferences, like major kudos to them. But like, I have a tough time selling tickets at like a high price. I have a tough time like really putting the screws to people on the sponsorship dollars. Like, I would sponsor a conference with my last company. You'd pay like 10 grand and then you'd show up, or like a week before the conference, they'd introduce you to the production company. They're like, oh, you want electricity at your booth? That's an extra $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
You wanted a chair with your table? Oh, that's another $400. And like, that pissed me off so hard. So we tried to be a very different conference. And also we care so much about this industry that we just want it to be the best conference ever. So the prices for attending are never very expensive. Like right now you could buy the tickets for November for $100, and they're not going to be much more expensive than that even last minute, because we want new blood in the industry. Exactly. And by the way, we'll make sure before then some Miss Teen crypto fans get some free tickets too. But the thing is like, so we just started doing that conference, and the greatest thing that we realized is like, we're not going to, at the early days of the crypto industry, we're not going to earn a living doing the conference, and we can't feed our family and pay our mortgages doing the conference. So we decided like, how are we going to take advantage of it. It's like, what's going to be the selfish reason for us to do the conference? Like, if we're not going to try to earn a living off of it, we still need full-time jobs. And we, by the way, until somewhat recently in the life of LA Blockchain Summit, like we're going to do the 9th edition this year. So if you think about that, only like maybe the last 3 in-person conferences was it our full-time job. Until then, it was Joseph and I was the only people doing it, like the only organizers, and it was part-time because we had to do other jobs to raise money or to pay for our life. And so at a certain point, though, we realized we met the best entrepreneurs in the world at our event before anyone else did. And we started doing some deals with some of them. Like our first company was, I think, Total, which was a decentralized exchange aggregator run by David Lesnak. And we realized what kind of opportunities we had meeting these awesome entrepreneurs. And so we started investing in some of them, but we didn't have any money. It was really, really small deals with like some trading and some bartering, figuring it out. But after we had like 6 or 7 companies, we had a meeting with Tim. And we're like, hey, I think we're onto something here. And Tim had spoken at almost every single one of our conferences, when it was Crowd Invest Summit to Crypto Invest Summit. And I had worked with him in some random capacity for about 10 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
And when I was a venture partner for that one fund, because he invested in that first company of mine, then I became a venture partner at a fund. That fund was a part of the Draper Venture Network also. So Tim has a network of funds around the world that he works with called the Draper Venture Network, so that they can share deal flow around the world and meet the best entrepreneurs around the world. And so I got to be a part of that network as a portfolio company, as like somebody they invested in when I did my last company. And then I got to be a part of it as an investor when I worked at that one fund for a little while. And I realized like, this is a club I want to be in. And I told Joseph all about it and he loved it. And so we talked to Tim, we're like, hey, we're not really a fund, because like we have this conference and we do these deals on the side. We never took anybody else's money and we don't run it like a fund. We don't act like a fund. We're startup people ourselves. We're never going to be, that kind of VC ever. That's not our style.
Exactly.
But this is what we do. Can we be a part of the Draper Network too? It's that we didn't ask, but that was what we were implying. And he asked us to pitch the network, and we ended up being accepted in the network. And then very soon after that, he invested in us. And part of the deal was that he added his name onto our fund. He became a partner with us, and we became Draper Goren Holm. Because before that, kind of under the radar, we had a company named Goren Holm Ventures, but we never told anybody about that company. It was just like the company we used when we worked with other companies. And so when Tim was like, hey, I'd like to add my name to the thing and we'll brand it as a Draper fund and this and that. And we were like, we had never put our name on anything. But there is one conference, if people look back, our last conference before we did the deal with Tim, we had already done the deal, like the handshake part of the deal and everything, but the lawyers were being too slow on the stuff. And we had planned for the whole conference to be like the day we announced this thing.
Yeah.
And so our logos are all over everything. Like we went way overboard. Like it was crazy. Like it was the lanyards had our logos. The stage had our logo like 18,000 times on it. It was like the craziest thing. We had this big like private investor lounge thing. And we didn't get the deal done in time. And so like we had to scramble and make a logo for Goren Holm Ventures that never really had a logo or anything, because we needed to put something there. And so for one of our conferences, we had Goren Holm Ventures all over everything. It was really funny.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it was awesome. And,
that's dramatic.
So, yeah, it was fun though. But that's the thing is we learned that, the branding part of what you do is really crazy important. And
absolutely.
Tim is obviously a big part of that too. He's all about the publicity and getting his name out there and the Draper name and everything.
Shouts to Sir Tim Draper. If you guys actually want to see that episode, I had him on the show not too long ago. So just scroll down
awesome.
that Miss Teen Crypto Show playlist and you'll see it. And also Joseph Holm, the other part of Draper Goren Holm, the last name in the name, the last name in the name. He was actually on the show as well a few weeks back. So go check that episode out as well. And when you guys were creating these crypto events, why did you see the potential? Like, why are you continuing to expand on these events as well? Because I know you guys are expanding. If you go to dgh.events, you guys can see what they're up to. So you guys are continuously expanding these events. So you still see promise in this venture of yours to keep doing this.
Totally. I see the community. Like, I think people are realizing it. Like, people have realized it in like NFT communities and things like that much quicker than they did at the beginning days of crypto. But like Lunar Crush has always had this statement. They say, without community, there is no crypto. Or there is no crypto without community, or whatever, same thing. So like, they've been saying that for years, and our events are our community. And we realize that the events are superpowers, right? Like, we get to meet entrepreneurs months before they want to announce something at our event. So we get to hang out with them, see what they're doing. We get to like kind of have this conversation of like, if we worked with this company, like, what would we do? How would we help them? Like, how would we scale what they're doing? How could we get them their first 100 customers? Like, what can we do to help these people? Or it's something like, holy shit, that's like the most impressive person in the world. I want to be on their team, right? Like, so we have this conversation all the time, but then we get to meet those people first. And so that's a big part of the event. But also, you know, we're at the early days of this industry where we need really high quality content and hand holding the people who want to get into it. And so, you know, it's really important for us to have mainstream style kind of expo conferences where people can have fun, people can learn. There's like not a ton of pressure, and you can just come and learn about the space. So for us, it's like a little bit, you know, community, right? Like, in terms of just growing it.
Exactly.
But it's, you know, selfishly, it's one of the best things we have. And we're small. Like, people don't realize that, like, we're a small team. We have, you know, I think like 6 or 7 people now on the team, and we're all over the world. But like, usually when there's, you know, go look at some of the other biggest conferences in our space. Those companies have 50 employees, or they're big media companies, and they spend their full-time job doing this. Like, we scaled it like with bots and with sales, like automated sales things and all sorts of crazy things, because it was just 2 of us part-time. And so we kind of have continued that. And for us, that's how we have a bigger impact with a smaller team, is to have these big events and to, you know, to really, I don't know, just get access to everything and everyone. And it's super fun for us. I can't stop talking, right? So I'm super stoked, and I love this space. And so it's just super fun for us.
Yeah, you have a lot of fun in the space. You're always finding ways to have fun, and including when you have your Bored Ape, which you've utilized a lot. And a part of the title of this video, or the title, actually, let's do the full title, is, are people still buying NFTs? Are Bored Apes boring? So we're going to answer that question. Are Bored Apes boring? And how can you utilize your NFT? Because I know you've done it in, like, you know, an awesome way. And yeah.
Well, first off, I got to show you what my kids helped me do right before I came on. Here's Punk Ape Strong. He's wearing a Miss Teen Crypto shirt today.
Go!
And
look how cute.
And I've animated him, right? So like, the beauty of the apes, right? The thing that set them apart at the beginning was the fact that you own the intellectual property, right? His mouth gets weird. I think I screwed something up in this thing. When I laugh or when I open my mouth, like big when I'm talking, like it gets weird. I don't know.
I like it.
But it's funny. His lips move. I'm using this thing called Adobe Character Animator. His lips move based on the sound, not based on tracking me. The rest of the body tracks me. So his floppy ears and stuff.
I really love that.
His mouth is like, ooh, ah. It's all based on sound. It's pretty funny. But I make videos with him and have a lot of fun. But the thing that makes apes different, or one of the things that made them different at the beginning, was the IP, the intellectual property. So I own my ape, and I own his likeness, which means I can I can put him on a t-shirt, I can put him on a skateboard, I can license him to Disney to be in a cartoon. I can do anything that I want with him, and I actually own that. That's part of what makes it special. So, to me, I think that's just one simple way where you can take like what people talk about NFTs and go like, oh, well, it's just a picture, right? Like World of Women, that's neat, but it's like you own a JPEG, big deal. But you own the intellectual property rights to that image too, right? That's like saying Mickey Mouse is just a cartoon, like it's just a drawing on a piece of paper. Why is Mickey Mouse worth anything? Like, because he's a character and he has a story and he has more to him. So like my ape, for example, you see him, he's holding a guitar or whatever. A normal ape doesn't have that. But my friend Reaper, who did Boring Stone with me, he's the guy who drew the bodies for our apes to make them have, the whole body and the rest of it. And I think that's really crazy important. He's got, the lunar tattoo on his knuckles and everything else. And it's just, to me, it's super fun. And, it's just really early stages. I don't know what, if every NFT campaign will sustain these kind of prices and things like that. I think that's not at all, reasonable. But some of them will, and some of them won't. But they're gonna, if you look at the utility part of it, the actual ability to do things, it's amazing, right? Like, yeah, you can. I think there's gonna be so much fun. So like at Security Token Summit when we hung out in New York, like I brought my ape there, the full body one, like in the picture that's advertising this stream, you used the picture and it had Punk Ape Strong in it. Yep. And people, it was funny, it was a Security Token Summit. So it wasn't like the normal mainstream crypto stuff that we're used to. And everyone was grabbing the ape, taking pictures with him and loving it. And you just realize like there's a little bit more of like an emotional attachment to the NFT and to that community when there's an image, when there is something like that, versus like I hold, I don't know, even lunar tokens, right? Like, yeah, I have obviously like a personal connection with Lunar Crush, and I'm an investor, full disclosure and all that. But like the average holder of a lunar token, it doesn't matter that they hold a particular lunar token, but for an ape holder, it matters. I'm ape 5011. And if I ever sold him and bought back into a different ape, I'd still be bummed that I don't have my original ape, right?
Exactly.
Like, but you can buy and sell Bitcoin, but you don't have that same kind of emotional attachment to it. So I think that's part of the fun and the beauty of NFTs. And then shout out to in that flyer, you also have Frankie Fame in there, which is my daughter's favorite Fame Lady Squad.
Yes, Frankie Fame. Fame Lady Squad actually just celebrated their 1-year anniversary. Yeah. So shout out to them. I was on their Twitter Spaces, and I am a Fame Lady hodler. So shout out to Fame Ladies.
Have you had NFT Ignition and Bored Becky and Data on at all to talk about that saga of Fame Lady Squad? Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I had Bored Becky and Danielle NFT Ignition on the show a while back. Wow, I don't even know how long ago, but it was a little while ago, and I had them on the show to talk about all of this. It was really awesome to have them and to just talk about that whole saga because, NFTs are just so interesting. So guys, if you want to scroll down the Miss Teen Crypto Show playlist, another banger of a show was Fame Lady Squad, just talking about everything that happened with them because it was just so awesome, and they're just continuously working. And you actually use your Bored Ape in a cooler way as well, using it with the Hustle House, who I had a show with. So another cool show to check out was with the Hustle House.
Jason.
Yep, talking about how you guys created Boring Stone NFTs. So do you mind shouting out Boring Stone and what you guys are doing with that?
So if you see in the background of this, actually, I'll switch back. You see in the background, in that top right over there, you see Punk Ape Strong. I wonder if I could zoom out on this thing. No, I won't be able to do it. But you see Punk Ape Strong. We created this thing, and right above the guitar stock, right there, you see the Boring Stone sticker. So Boring Stone was this thing that we put together where we were like, well, all of these people are doing these generative drops where it's like Bored Apes, like copies of Bored Apes, right?
Basically.
Or like, lazy lions and shit like that. And we were like, well, we love our apes and we own the rights to them, and our friends own the rights to them. So we're like, let's use them for something. And as a joke, I actually took that picture that originally kind of spawned some of this that Reaper made with me holding my guitar. And I put it on a pretend cover of a Rolling Stone magazine, but I changed the title to Boring Stone. And I just tweeted that out as a joke. And I just thought, hey, this is funny. And then I was like, wait, I bet we could do a generative drop where all of the headlines cycle between, let's say, like a few hundred headlines we create. And then we'll get our friends like Bored Becky to let us use her ape. And we'll get Jason, the Hustle House, he'll use his ape. And then Reaper will drop bodies on some of them. And then we'll use our Fame Ladies because we own the rights to use those. And then we'll talk to some of the other. And we got Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park. We named his ape Bored Shinoda. And Reaper drew him holding an MPC, which is like that device that you make beats on and stuff. And we did all these, and we actually did this generative drop where every single element of it was sort of randomized, and there's like 10 different or more than that Boring Stone logos on it. So it was like this collab between me and Reaper and the Hustle House and Yoni, who helped with like the logos and the placement and all this stuff. And it's really fun. And we keep dropping new art to all of the holders. Reaper just did a killer cover that he dropped to everyone. And then there's going to be a bunch of IRL stuff also as sort of utility for the holders. Like That's holders good. Of Boring Stone are going to have some really extra fun things happening at LA Blockchain Summit also. But a lot of this also stemmed into what we're doing at Midpoint. So like Yoni is now full-time working on Midpoint with Mr. Suit, Mr. MetaMask, and another guy named Mark. And Midpoint is actually creating a marketplace to license your NFTs to brands and people who want to license. So like if you want to use an ape on something, you know, like if I want to put Captain America on a t-shirt that I'm making, I can't just buy Captain America. That will cost me millions and billions of dollars, right? But I can contact Disney or the licensing people at Disney, and I can say, I want to put Captain America, this drawing I made of him, on a t-shirt or a lunchbox or whatever. I want to license him from you. And they come up with a deal, and they go, okay, for every lunchbox you sell, you give us $1 or whatever it is. And they do the deal. And that's what we're building with Midpoint. So it's this way for people, you know, you might not want to buy an ape for 150 grand, but you might go, hey, I'll pay $1,000 to use an ape in the logo for my business, or use an ape on this guitar I'm making, or whatever, right? Like you can do anything you want. And that's the marketplace that Midpoint is putting together. It's called midpoint.market. It's really cool. So that kind of is a bit of the evolution from actually Bored Becky and Jason, the Hustle House, convincing me that my ape needs a story. Jason convinced me I needed to buy an ape. He gets full credit of hounding me and be like, bro, why don't you own an ape yet? And he kept hounding me on Blockchain and Booze, and then after Blockchain and Booze. And one night I literally was like texting him, I'm like, which ape do I buy? And he's like, just go and look and this and that. And I was scrolling down the apes, and I saw Punk Ape Strong. I'm like, that guy looks like me.
Yeah, he does.
I bought him purely based on the fact that I thought he looked like me. And then the whole thing kind of started. But I think there's so many applications for this stuff, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I that happens a lot with NFT projects. People are buying projects based on, you know, how like, you know, a lot of women bought a Fame Lady. Like other girl in the Fame Lady 1 year anniversary Twitter space was so happy that she got a Fame Lady because it looked like her. And, you know, it was just it's just like really cool to have like that personal connection amongst all the other benefits that NFTs can bring you.
100%. Like my kids were getting into NFTs over quarantine and everything because I was living in that world, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to people creating DAOs. So then I go, hey, you want to learn what a DAO is? And they're just like, the hell are you talking about? And then I'm talking to them about crypto all the time because they were all doing school from home and home with me and everything. Yep. and my son started making NFTs. We were doing stuff, and when Fame Lady Squad came out, it was like, holy shit. So I got my daughter, like, she sat on my lap, and we were going, and we minted a bunch of them.
That's awesome.
And we were having an awesome time doing it. And then like a week or two later, whenever that was, I remember telling her, I was like, hey, your Fame Ladies, like, it turned out to be something totally different. And she was like, oh, it's a scam, blah. And then like within, like, at that same day when all that saga was going down, I remember being in a Twitter space. I was like, and I had to go pick up dinner or something for the family. So I listened to it while driving. And I remember I couldn't get up on stage on the space, and everyone was actually shitting on Danielle, on NFT Ignition. They were like, she's involved, she's part of the scam.
No.
And I'm like, I'm trying to get on stage. I'm like, no way, she's an OG. She's not part of this. She's like,
yeah,
she's
not her.
Dude. But all these people were like, I don't think she's even a woman. Like all this crazy, because they didn't really know her yet, right? Because it was brand new day. And then she got on stage finally, and she's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And she cleared it. And then obviously with the whole way the saga went, it was crazy. But like, because of that though, like in my daughter's eyes, they're like heroes. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah. That was dramatic. I mean,
it was crazy.
Shout out to NFT Ignition. She's awesome. I knew her like before Fame Ladies, and like I remember her telling me like before she really like delved into this space, she was like, I'm gonna go. We were in Miami at a conference, and she was like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna work and I'm gonna create and I'm gonna just do some stuff. And I was like, absolutely, you are. And then like I was just so happy for her. I just like felt that good energy with her. When you talk to her, when you hear her, like, you know, she's amazing. You know.
1000%. I'm like a huge fan, and she knows it. I always joke, I need to get myself one of her jackets. Like, I don't know.
Literally, yes.
She gets the jacket with her face on it, so that's like the branding and everything. I need one of those.
Literally. Oh my God. Like, she always has the swag.
One. She has, well, I think she has like a shop where you can actually buy them. I need to actually get one. I'm going to. But what's crazy though too, if you look at Fame Ladies, and I have no connection other than being a huge fan and loving and owning some Fame Ladies.
Same.
Which I'll never sell anyway. So, but like what's crazy is that like you see all these NFT projects who raise tons of money, or who, I shouldn't say raise tons of money, but made tons of money selling their NFTs and stuff, and not executing their roadmaps or doing anything. And then you see Fame Lady Squad, who they got none of the money. The Russians that did it kept all the money.
Yes,
so
they did.
Took over, like, those Russians actually got off pretty clean. They basically rugged
just
everyone and left and got all the money. And as far as I know, never got in trouble. But what's crazy is with no money, with no budget, Fame Lady Squad is just kicking the crap out of most other communities in terms of like doing cool things and executing and having fun. To me, it's a measurement of fun. Like, I don't live in the Discords.
Exactly.
I miss some things sometimes, but like I'm just doing it because I really, really enjoy it. Like, it's a part of our work and business where you get to just do your thing and have fun and goof around. And so why not? Like,
it's beautiful.
It's
a beautiful site. Ooh, speaking of a beautiful site, ballet wallets are quite the pretty thing to look at. Do you mind giving us a key word or phrase for our friends in the chat to enter in order to win one of these?
Yes. The word of the day is punk, like Punk Ape Strong. PUNK.
All right, friends, type punk in the chat to enter for a ballet wallet.
We just hung out with Bobby Lee, the founder of Ballet, in San Francisco at an event, and he was on Blockchain and Booze that we did live from there. And he is awesome.
That's awesome.
He's an OG in our space and has been doing these wallets for years and years now, and they're really high quality products. They're really cool. You'll be stoked to have one, whoever wins it.
Yeah, these things are awesome, man. Like, I really do love them. But I mean, yeah, the NFT space, there's a lot of drama that goes on, but honestly, it's good that we were all kind of learning and everything like that. Since you were in the crowdfunding space, I don't know if like you're really doing crowdfunding a lot right now, but you know, do you feel that NFTs, like in the way people have used NFTs to kind of fund things, how do you feel about that? Because I know like there's been situations where I've seen people that are like, oh yeah, our project, it's good, we're gonna have a game or a roadmap that comes out, and the NFT, if you buy our NFT and it sells out, or if we sell a certain amount, then we can execute. Like, how do you feel about these type of things being done?
I mean, I think it's fine as long as the expectations are set right. I think that communities, so many go into it with really good intentions and are doing a kick-ass job, but because of the way hype goes, their NFTs don't go up in value.
Yeah.
But then the people bought it go like, hey, fuck you, man. I bought this NFT because it was supposed to 10x overnight and like fucking goblins, blah. Like, and then like they're just saying bullshit. And you're like, wait, do you realize you supported a company? That's like going to, Taco Bell and being pissed off that the toy you got in the kids meal didn't go up in value.
That's funny.
That's not why you went to Taco Bell. And if you went here to do that, then you came in for the wrong reason.
You're not going to make it.
You're exactly like, I collected comic books growing up, but I was never angry when I bought a comic book and it didn't go up in value. I bought one that I might have bought one that did go up in value, but I've got boxes full of comic books at my parents' house that are worth, probably less than the $1.99 I paid for them. Am I pissed at, Stan Lee for that? Like, is it his fault? No, it's not. But did Stan Lee use the money he made to keep making really cool things? And now I have some old Spider-Man comic books, or at least old to me, and now I watch Spider-Man with my kids and I fucking love Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man. Woo!
So to me, it's like, will these companies continue? Will they stay in business? And it is like crowdfunding, right? Like the Kickstarter style crowdfunding. Nobody who buys an NFT is a owner of the company, right? Unless somebody launches some kind of DAO or some kind of thing like that, and it's a part of the plan, but you're not an owner of the company. You just supported, you bought something from a company.
Exactly.
Sometimes you're doing it as a collectible, hoping that it goes up and stuff, but other times it's not. And so, it's a really, really weird space. To me, the real measure is 6 months after a project launches, are they still around and doing stuff? If they're not, then they're a-holes. If they made a lot of money from it. If they are around, then they're doing their job. It's like an entrepreneur. Most times when we invest in a company, we'll expect that company will fail. It sucks. We don't want it to. I don't think most times they'll fail, but like, what happens after 3 or 4 years when an entrepreneur worked their butt off to get a company and ultimately fails? Like, they did something awesome. It doesn't always work out. They'll do another thing. You want to be on their team, but to be, I think people need to, I think that's one of the good things that the bear market will bring. People don't have those expectations. And if they do, they're just going to hurt themselves more than anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of the roadmaps and things were just hard to keep up with. And, I think especially with the market taking a turn the way it did, and maybe people don't particularly have the liquidity or the dollars that they had before. And, I think it's just kind of a little bit of a mess right now. I think,
it is. I mean, it's not just a mess for us, though. It's easy to be in our own bubble, but like, the economy is fucked.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
For the whole world.
Sheesh.
For the whole world.
Sheesh.
So, one of the crazy things that I say sometimes is that I had my last job before MySpace was actually at Countrywide at the bank in the systems architecture group. And I don't know if you know this, but Countrywide was like the #1 offender of selling people loans that they knew that the people couldn't afford just to make money.
That's so messed up.
Right before the financial crisis. I worked at Countrywide. I was making maybe $10, $11 an hour part-time. Lame. And I remember there was an employee there whose job it was to sell mortgages to other employees. And he was like, bro, you should buy a condo. Time is good. And I'm like, they're really expensive. I can't afford it. He's like, you got a girlfriend, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you guys serious, right? And I was like, yeah, we are. It was my wife at the time, but we were just dating. And he's like, just go in with her. And I'm like, she also works part-time.
I don't like that.
Like, but they were like literally going like, now's the time, bro. You got to do it. We'll get like an interest only loan, dude. You'll be stoked. And like, and you know,
he sounds
like
scary.
a year later, the whole thing fell apart. The financial crisis and everything happened. And we have another one of those now. It's not those mortgages. It's the money printing and all the rest of the stuff. But like, we're gonna go into something now for a while that has nothing to do with crypto. So like the other crypto bear markets, they had to do with the market cycles and all this stuff like that. This one, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do know that like my friends who trade stocks are just as wrecked as my friends who are holding or who are trading, altcoins and whatever. But we're all going to be good. This is still the beginning of something. Like this is still, like you brought up earlier, like the beginning days of internet or the beginning days of social media. This is where we're at. 10 years from now, or like if you think about when I did my crowdfunding company, it was about 10 years ago when we finally went all in full time. But we launched around 2010, I think. But 2012, we went full time. And nobody was earning money on the internet like they are today back then. You couldn't stream movies on the internet the way you could now. Think about how much changes in 10 years.
Yeah.
Netflix didn't exist. Like,
that's so nuts.
Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
When I worked at IMDb, no filmmakers wanted their movies to be watched on the internet because they're artists. And they're like, why would I want some pixelated, shitty version of my movie on somebody's screen to be, because that was what YouTube was back then. It was pixelated, it was bad quality. Like we're talking live in HD right now. Yeah. But back then you couldn't do that. And so think about how much changes in 10 years. So 10 years from now, we're gonna be laughing at today going like, oh my God, like how crazy it was. We used MetaMask back then or whatever. and we're going to be talking about whatever thing as some ridiculous thing that we did. Like, we're going to be talking about this kind of like, we might talk about pirating episodes of TV shows 10, 15 years ago off the internet. Like this is the blip before the real adoption happens. And Absolutely. So, I think if you're here and you're learning, you're already in the top 10% of people who know how to navigate this space.
Absolutely. That's facts. I mean, we're still so early, and if you're here, you're watching now, you're still early. Tweeting about Bitcoin, spread that adoption, just anything to do. Tell your friends, tell your family. This is a revolution we're a part of here. Also, congratulations to our friend David in the chat who has won the Ballet wallet. Send me a DM on Twitter with your email. I'll get you set up and send that over to the Ballet team. Before we close out, Alon, I want to ask you, a part of the title was, are people still buying NFTs? Are you still buying NFTs? Do you think that there's still people buying NFTs? I think there is 100%.
I think there is for sure. You know what? Something I should throw out there, a shout out that I just noticed and I should have said earlier. You see my Ottez back there, that otter guy that looks like kind of like me.
Oh,
also.
Yeah.
That's a Tezos NFT, and I think a great place for people to learn and to experiment is on Tezos because it's an awesome place to be. It's not just for learning. There's a lot of really awesome things. The technology is killer. I'm a huge fan of Tezos, but the transaction fees are next to nothing. And there's awesome NFT marketplaces where you're trading the NFTs for $1 or for $5 or for $10, and you're not kind of paying more than that just in the transaction fees trying to goof around. So I think it's a great place to go. I just minted some, I don't know the team. It just seemed fun and they were really nice and they made me a cool looking Bigfoot NFT. And so I minted a bunch of Bigfoot NFTs on Tezos.
That's awesome.
But like I also buy fine art on Tezos, just like I do on Ethereum. And it's really, really cool. So I think that's a place where not as many people participated till now.
Yeah.
That's going to really blow up too. The fine art stuff, the one-of-ones, not necessarily just the collectibles and stuff. NFT and the art, by the way, and the IP and the stuff like that is just the tip of the iceberg with
Absolutely.
NFT. There's gonna be financial repercussions and different things that are built in the financial world that use the same smart contracts and technology that are going to blow our minds also.
Yes, I'm with you, Sir Alon. Thank you for coming today. Thank you to everyone that popped out in the chat. I very much appreciate you guys. Alon, where can everybody find you? Is there anything you want to shout out that you're doing before we head out?
Well, go to dgh.events because that's the events for everyone. And that's, we have blockchain and booze every Tuesday night and everything else. But drapergorenholm.com, if you're a startup that is raising money or just getting started, send us your pitch over there. Follow me on Twitter, follow Punk Ape Strong. Listen to the Missing 23rd. It's going to blow your mind.
Oh my. All right, I'm going to paste all the links.
Hardcore punk rock from Ventura, California.
Awesome. Okay.
Has nothing to do with me. I wasn't in that band or anything. I just love them.
No, you're just fan. You're a fan, bro.
Huge fan. Do it. Yeah, and follow Miss Team Crypto because she's where it's at.
Oh, you're so awesome, Alon. Thank you for coming. You're so cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing everything you're going to do. DGH events, you guys are going to kill it. And yeah, I'm excited to have you and just talk about thank you for talking about your ape and diving into how you use it, because I feel like that's a really important conversation that a lot of people haven't really thought about, especially coming into NFTs. People are like, oh, how can I use this? Grr. And you just explained a great way how to utilize it and maybe make it into a business or make, a lot of people have their PFPs kind of as their personas now as well. So Punk Ape Strong is a persona in himself. So it's pretty awesome.
That's the beauty of it, right? Like you own the NFT, but you can monetize it while holding it instead of thinking about when you're going to sell it. Just assume you're going to keep it forever and grow its value.
Exactly. You're so awesome, Alon. I'm going to drop one last NFT in the chat for you guys. And then we are going to head out. But this has been a really good episode. If you guys enjoyed the show, please drop a like, subscribe, share this out with friends if you enjoyed it, if you felt the zesty vibes. Next week, we're going to have some awesome guests again. It's just, the zest is fully here. And NFTs are here to stay. Crypto's here to stay. We are all going to make it. Even though I was on Wall Street, I was talking to a lot of people on Wall Street yesterday. A lot of them didn't know about Bitcoin. So friends, we are still early. Don't give up. Do your research. Take custody of your crypto. Take your crypto off the exchange. Anything you'd like to say, Alon, before we head out? Any last minute thoughts?
Just that you're definitely going to hang with us at LA Blockchain Summit in November. So everyone come hang with us in LA, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Oh, you guys are awesome. You're awesome. Thank you guys for coming. I don't even want to leave. All right, I guess I have to.
Do it again.
I know, we definitely do. Have a great day, everyone. And as always, stay zesty. Peace. Woo.
Good morning, crypto Twitter, it's Miss T Crypto, spreading crypto adoption, showing its benefits to my generation. Shout out to all my people, Jesse needs to be included, it's really that simple. We are savage, amazed, ball zesty, making money at the same time, spread peace. I feel empty if you don't include Gen Z.